Alright, first I'd like to apologize for the delay on updating this build. First I played with survivability, then I had to figure out DPS, and then how much survivability I could sacrifice and still get the DPS, so it took me a little bit to kill the T8 Traveler, but now that I have, I'm confident that I can put this build out there and it'll actually be useful. Just took me a while to figure a couple things out. I'm going to go into the skill tree first because I made a big change that even if you are playing without the upgraded gear, changing this last tree to Soulbender is going to be huge for survivability. The regain from the Druid tree that I was using that used to be a part of the build just doesn't work without the other trees that had it. So I'm just going to go through all the trees. You can pause it if you want to do these. So this is going to convert 50% of Fizz to Cold, and then in Arcanist it converts 50 more Fizz to Cold, which is relevant. You get 100% Fizz to Cold. That'll matter for some damage calculations. I use Beacon for the additional spell damage. Chili is good, but it's not as good. If you could get that as another implicit on your Infinity, that'd be great, but obviously you're going to take the other one. When it comes to 45% spell damage, or 20% additional cold and fire damage, the additional damage is actually a much better multiplier for your damage, so you're going to go Burning Touch. I think I had Insight on my original because I was a big dumb. Okay, so that's that out of the way. Then Arcanist. Your Frostbitten is going to give you a lot of cold penetration, which is really going to up your damage. Neither of these is really what you want. Neither of them works out. Additional damage here again. Max Frostbites is a really good damage boost. And you don't want to change. You don't want to change the effect of Focus Blessing, because then you lose your double damage for adding cold damage. But it's not. You don't have enough mana for that to be a good multiplier. And I'll go through slowly, kind of, or you can pause it if you need to do the tree. I think it's right here. Yeah, 50% of Fizz to Cold, so it's 100% Fizz to Cold. Ward is going to give you a good energy shield boost, and you're not gonna have blur, and you're not gonna do erosion damage. So Ward here is really good for getting more energy shield. You're gonna want as much as you can get. And Blood Sacrifice, 20% of sealed life as mana. Not really relevant. We're not gonna seal any life, but 15%, negative 15% sealed mana is going to make a big difference for how much we can reserve. And then there's just a lot of energy shield and sealed mana in this tree, so go through that. And I think I've been doing a lot of T8, so I haven't looked to 96, and then if you go to 97 you lose resistances again, so you know, whatever you want to do. T7 you're basically invincible. You can grind out to get up there, but you have negative 48% erosion resistance, which there's really just no way to get it when you're using all these legendaries where it's beyond that, so you're gonna die sometimes. And then we do have other resistances because that makes us die less. That's about where we can get it to. Yeah, let's go through the stats. So we're looking at 5,200 effective life pool with the energy shield and life. That's pretty good. Going through the gear, I have the corrosions on some of them. This corrosion, getting more waves of barrage, is going to be the best corrosion for this hat, because you're going to get additional damage per wave of barrage, so an extra barrage is good. On your vestment, you're going to want the corrosion for additional damage per wave of barrage. and that's going to be your biggest damage increase. I was running a plus 15, which is the max before I got this corrosion, and that was good enough, but the 4% makes a difference. You can get it up to 20, but I'm cheap. As far as damage goes, Vortex Heart with critical damage corrosion is going to give you a pretty substantial damage boost. I checked the crit rating. It didn't really... Getting extra crit rating didn't really increase the damage very much. You seem to have enough with this build as it stands. Some people go for lowering the reduction to skill radius, which is quality of life, but you're going to, because you have focus strike, you're going to deal the most damage at the center. So I don't really think that increasing the radius does that much for you, because you're going to want to try and focus on the target anyway. It probably does, but I don't care. I do not have the correct corrosion on Sage's Insight, but you would want +2 elemental spell skill, I believe. I think that would be your biggest damage increase. I hit a really lucky corrosion on Mindblade on this Infinity, and now I could never afford this belt without grinding more time than I have available. Although I do have the erosion damage and fervor effect deadlines, it's still getting a lot of that crit rating that I needed from this. But again, I don't know how helpful that actually is. I think you'd be better off just having regular Mind Blade with, if you could get Chilly right here, or maybe even, I mean, it would help to have max Focus Blessing, but Mind Blade is huge, because you're going to get all that physical damage converted to cold damage, and you're going to get all your cold damage scaling with your spells getting your main hand weapon damage to them before the calculations. Powered Battle Greaves, if you get a good corrosion on the interruption for energy shield, it can go up to 80%. It can only go up to 60 without the corrosion. Gives you a little more wiggle room for not being able to interrupt your energy shield recharge. It's fine without the corrosion. It's just really important to have these boots to keep energy shield from getting interrupted, because most of your life pool is in energy shield, so the more you can regenerate, the better. For rings, I switched to 2 Restless Glacier because it has additional cold damage. You would want the corrosion on the additional cold damage line. I have not been able to afford better ones, but that getting more additional cold damage is going to be your biggest increase in damage. And then you want to, on your Imperial General, get the plus 15% additional damage per wave of barrage skills, because that goes up 5% additional damage per wave of barrage, which you have 2 extra here. It gets pretty good. I actually don't know that the 3 total waves of barrage actually ever gets useful for you, because if you watch, so you get this if you've moved enough recently, but it never goes away, and if you actually use a non-trigger of your barrage skill, that buff will go away until you move again. So I don't think you actually get those waves of barrage from this at all, but I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain that's the case. That's basically that. I guess I can go over my pack spirits because people care about that. Is there a way to look at it without opening up that screen? Wow, that's annoying. Okay, so I'm just using, all of the ones I'm using are level 6. This guy gives double spell damage and cast speed. So the double spell is actually a chance to deal double damage. It's not cast the spell twice. It's just bad translation. Spell damage and cast speed. This guy I put in the damage section because he's a drop quantity level 6 that I have, and you get an FE thing in the outer ring. I'll show you in a second. Mana restoration, spell damage, and critical strike damage. Just things that are relevant. and then I don't take the mana restoration because you can get everything without it. And spell damage, crit damage, deal double damage. And then I take all of the regular wheel on this guy for all the damage. And then I go do it for the additional flame fuel drop quantity. Very minimal, but it's definitely worth it, I think. I have no idea. I guess I'll show the damage now. You'll fluctuate when you're in... Oh, I didn't go over the hero trait stuff, so I'll go over this stuff in a second. So, when you... What is it called? So when you go into Frostfire Rampage, you will deal about 900 million damage, and when you're not in it, you'll be somewhere between 500 million and 900 million, so we'll kind of show the fluctuation there. Right out the gate, so this is buffed, it's going to go right up to that 999, and then it'll drop. I should be showing the 5 but as you can see, it's dropping down to like 600, 700. But then when the Frostfire Rampage comes back, it ramps back up. And then my highest DPS is 999. I guess I'm going to do a recount again where you can see the average kind of fluctuate. That's a little more accurate. You'll see how low it can dip. So sometimes it only goes up to like 800 mil. It'll drop down to like 500 mil, a little bit lower, 400 mil something, but then it goes right back up. So you've kind of got this up and down to your DPS based on when you go into that rampage. But at the rampage you can deal like 1 billion DPS at times. It's kind of awkward. But hero traits and skills now. So hero traits, you're going to do only option, bottom, middle, top, top. You're not going to get anything from the ones I didn't select. I kind of went over that in the other video. This 1% additional cold damage for each point of fusion energy is going to be great because you're going to take all the traits for extra fusion energy. And then I took cold damage with it. You want 3 engrams. So +2 max fusion energy with a damage line would be ideal. My only +2 is on with defense, and that actually kind of does. That 6% defense is actually noticeable for my survivability, surprisingly. But you actually don't get that much more damage without this damage line for the max 2 fusion comparatively, because I had a max fusion +1 and the base damage to attacks and spells, and this only raised me about 50 mil, which when you are doing as much damage, 50 mil DPS is not really relevant. You'll kind of want to save up and get one of these lines with your 2 fusion, because both of these have 1. I'm doing alright. I think I have 13 max fusion energy, and you can get up to 15 if it's +2, +2, +2, which you get 2.5% additional cold damage per stack of fusion energy, which is very relevant. Now skills, I'll explain this a little better because I got comments questioning how I'm doing cast while channeling twice, which I'm not. It's cast while channeling and precise cast while channeling, which is relevant because the game treats them as 2 different things. But I'm using Path of Flames as my channeling skill with Guard, Efficient Cast, Quick Mobility, and Periodic Burst. Blink with Quick Mobility, Cooldown Reduction, Cost Conversion. Compound Potion with Armor Infusion, Residues, and Cooldown Reduction. Force Start with Extended Duration, Cooldown Reduction, Cost Conversion. And Mana Boil with Mania, Mass Effect, and Bloodbath. Cast while channeling, just the regular cast while channeling. Abysmal Hatred for your Biting Cold, and Ice Bond and Stone Skin are also on there. Stone Skin is optional. I think it really increases the survivability to have it there. As far as just your other aura, like actual auras, Precise Elemental Amplification, Precise Elemental Resistance, Precise Steadfast, Precise Energy Fortress. And yeah, without the 3rd tree, can't remember what it's called now, Soulbound or whatever, you can't get enough reserve mana for all of this. Notice I'm not even running, I can't fit the support that lowers the cost of them. Just because I'm so starved for energy, I've only got 29 left. And then your precise cast while channeling, which is important that this Blizzard is on your precise, is because it's, if you go through the stats, you deal more damage with your precise and you get more casts. I have level 21 Blizzard. It's very good to have the 21. Carpet Bombardment, Strategic Strike, Increased Critical Strike, and critical strike rating and critical strike damage. And yeah, a pretty basic setup. You barely have to play the game, which is what I'm all about. I think I went and bought, so I'm going to finish up this video. I'm going to fight T8 Traveler, which I might die once, maybe twice or more. Could die. You have 6 portals, use them, you know, softcore mentality. And then first I'm going to do just the base Void Sea invitation. That's actually really easy with this build. I haven't tried a higher difficulty, but it's possible we have enough damage. I actually don't know how much damage you need for the second tier, but I don't have it. So this guy's pretty darn easy. He was not easy before I increased my damage by a lot. You deal enough damage that you can make some mistakes. I did have a no-death kill on him, so I'm going to try and do that. I have not had a no-death kill on the T8 Traveler. Whenever he becomes invulnerable, because I have no erosion resist, I just die. So I'm also too lazy to do the circle phase. I just let that circle phase where he does it in the spiral kill me, and then I just wait for it to end to revive. So, you know, we're not getting points for being a skilled player here. Oh, derp. The thing about this build, if there's like erosion damage on the ground, you don't want to revive till it's gone, which is a no-brainer, but just for everyone out there who gets frustrated about dying, you're gonna die if you take erosion damage. Oh, didn't even take erosion damage, just took damage. That's another thing about the high difficulty stuff is you're not super tanky. But pretty easy. You deal enough damage to kill him. Loot your stuff. If anybody's curious, I had this stuff from before. Garbage. 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 Is this garbage? Garbage. 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 Okay, I'll do the T8 Traveler and then I'll wrap up my video. Hopefully I don't wipe, because that would be really embarrassing. I ran into a glitch where the Traveler was invulnerable for like 3 deaths one time when I was fighting him, and that really pissed me off, because he really shouldn't have been invulnerable. But yeah, your endgame bossing, if you have enough damage, you can do it. Huh. But you're not gonna you're not gonna be have a very good survivability for endgame bossing with this build. And that was like deal like a second more of damage to phase him and I wouldn't have died, so that was super cool. But you gotta pay attention, because you can't take, like, all of his beams and stuff is just gonna kill you. Those blocks kill you. Mostly you get hit, you die. Anytime there's a circle, avoid it, or you're dead. Circle there, dead. Get phased. There we go. Thing to note, based on your mana regeneration and stuff, if you stop casting at all, you will lose your mana boil buff, and you will have to recast it because you get bonuses from spending mana to restore mana and casting, and then you'll run out of mana really quick when you're not doing anything. Well, we're gonna let this finish before we respawn. Sometimes when I respawn after that phase, the Traveler just takes 0 damage, and I still haven't figured out why. Obnoxious. Yep, 0 damage. I don't really know what this whole phase where the Traveler takes no damage is, but I don't remember this being a thing in the first season. But then again, it's been a while since I played, so yeah, because again, 0 damage. I have to do this stupid. I hate this. Yep. Alright, there we go. Now that I can take damage, I can kill it. Get an infinity belt. I will definitely identify that so you can all see how I don't make money. And I'll pick up these crappy things too, because why not? I'm going to destroy everything. That's just the intermediate filter. I don't remember why I prefer intermediate to the advanced filter. I think it has to do with these drops. I want to see these drops because I want to know if I get a +2 fusion energy. Hair trigger. I believe that hair trigger is worth nothing. I was right. Woohoo! Well, hope somebody out there enjoys this video. This build is very good, very worth playing. I highly recommend.